Who's crazy? Crazy punter.
What's up, everybody? This is the poker coaching study session, and today we're gonna be looking at hand history from one of the regulars here, Mr. Crazy Punter. He played the daily main on GG and took down the first place. Let's get started. Pocket three. Check seems fine, folding seems fine.
Yep.
Open ace ten off. This is just a bit small.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yep.
Do you always open an ace ten off this deep, Galen?
No, I don't actually. It's a good consideration because the PIO ranges have it mixing. And I'm more likely to fold it if I'm covered. But I don't know, in an early tournament, it's just kind of clicking buttons sometimes.
And are there aces that you check back?
Yeah, the worst ones. So you should be opening some of your suited wheel aces from that stacked up, and they make pretty good candidates depending on the flop texture.
You said about ace ten under the gun?
Mhm.
Yeah, I went through Poker Tracker and looked at my under the gun statistics. 9-9 and ace ten are the only two hands I'm really not winning it with. And so I've kind of moved to ace jack with, sometimes ace ten again, depending on stack
Yeah,
sizes. and
I
the
usually
opponents, so-
fold ace ten, 100 big blinds deep.
I always
Yeah.
have ace ten, I fold ace nine.
You're not gonna be printing money opening that hand. It's fine to do
No.
either or.
Yeah.
I have
'Cause
a,
it's an
I have a
open.
dirty habit of trying to craft my stats on everyone's HUD, so the hands you fold early are usually more influential to make you look nittier.
Yep.
Louis thinking he's three betting this all the time, and he's shocked to see that it's majority flat.
Absolutely shocked here.
Yeah, this deep you need to be suited. You're pulling from
For
the
what
suited
it's
part
worth,
of your
I,
range.
for what it's worth, I do mix here.
What do you do here? Just call, raise?
Just call.
You're probably supposed to call this.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I wouldn't be surprised if I would have folded that, but you'd probably just call. My initial look through, funny enough, this spot is a little more nuanced than I thought. This turn is actually a call even versus a bet of that size.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Really?
Yep, I didn't think it was. You
Feels
could
spicy.
look at.
I wouldn't
does.
think it is with the ace of diamonds either, yeah.
The natural bluff card for him, I guess, the jack. And we don't
Don't
have a lot
tease
of
me, bro.
calls, and we got one of our best flats is ace queen off, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think that, ace of diamonds is actually supporting evidence to flat because you're blocking some of the flush draws, which are some of the combos he'll be, sizing up with.
I mean, we don't flat much on the flop, so this is probably one of our best cards, one of our best combos we are just calling on the flop with.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the case as well. So like, I think like, a lot of the cards the hands that he's barreling probably aren't a ton of jack X either.
And even if he
Plays
has a jack, we still have two overs. Which we're not gonna have with a lot of other hands. It's very
Mhm.
hard to have two overs for us here.
Yeah, this was much more spicy than I had anticipated. Like I'm not finding these. Now, I'm not sure how the bounty dynamic plays into this, the fact that we're covered and losing this pot, kind of
True.
affects our ability to hunt here.
So we still have
But,
other pairs, we have some fives.
But it's definitely an interesting consideration at this point. That I'm too tight here.
I don't mind the fold looking at our range.
Hmm.
What's his position cut off?
Hijack.
Yeah, it's,
Okay, so you could.
Thing
call
is,
here.
I'm not gonna have fives and sixes and sevens and eights like that range does. I'm just raising so much there that that's gonna be one of my best hands.
I mean, you're beating ace ten and less, that's it really.
so
King queen.
this is an interesting, hand. There's a couple different trees you could go down with this, so.
If you can raise or call on the flop or turn.
Correct, right, so First thing of note is from just the study we've done, ace X two-tone or ace king X two-tone. For steel versus big blind,
Yeah, you should
very
be range
heavy.
betting.
It's a range bet, and if not a range bet, it's got a lot of large bets, so. It puts him in a strange part of the tree when he checks, so check, check. We have a gut shot and we pick up backdoor equity. We could actually be leading this turn. Some portion of the time. When we don't lead it.
Yep.
We could be going for the delayed check raise. To kind of pot build here.
Yeah,
I think
but
calling's fine also.
your hand is really thin. You're supposed to be over folding on ace high boards.
Right, I think it's kind of odd, the portion of the tree we're in, because you know, he checks this flop, like what kind of hands are checking this flop that are of value? I guess is kind of where my mind is. Cause even like, you know, I don't know, pocket kings probably wanna bet here.
What about your weaker aces? I mean, if you go back to the last hand, I mean, aren't there weaker aces?
That's fair, that's fair. Now,
I
to
I
that
think,
point though, we're blocking a lot of those combos.
Yeah,
I think he's
Yeah.
just supposed to like bet range, like
He should be, yeah,
90% of hands.
Yeah.
it should be heavy. I'm not
So is he
sure.
checking like queens with a diamond maybe? Jacks with a diamond?
That would make sense. Those hands would definitely fit into that category that decide to bet large on the turn.
So he
But,
does check back plenty here.
He does have a lot of checking, okay, so another spot that, I have misconceptions about.
Oh yeah, it's cuz we're super deep. There's always checks deep. Like 40 big blinds, this is definitely just a range bet.
So when he checks, I would imagine we kind of can turn on the gas here quite a bit. Yeah, that
So
makes
he never
sense.
checked queens there, did he? On the
Do
flop?
everything. huh?
So we're actually supposed to be betting it big. It's blue.
Yeah, yeah, I would I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Cuz he's gonna have a lot of pair plus draw hands here. So, I mean, if we're gonna be targeting like Jack X, 10X, we're gonna need to, work a little bit harder. I also think, I think the delayed check raise is also very viable.
I agree.
Yeah, I think both options are pretty.
Oh,
pretty
yeah, it does
decent.
have the queens, which is all range here.
So versus that sizing, I guess you went, yeah, versus larger sizing, I guess it
80%.
prefers. Yeah, it probably prefers the call.
Yeah.
I mean,
most
our
of-
hand is not gonna be doing great versus a jam over it, so. We went for the call.
Ugh.
I imagine you probably just check, give up this.
Yep.
I'm thinking there might be some merit since the king pairs. That you can maybe, donk this at some frequency, but
No, I think the spot for descent is on the turn.
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
Interesting hand.
what's the buy-in
Uh,
on the Sunday? 109?
This is a
52.
52.
This is a 52,
50?
50.
Okay.
So this is a hand. I've actually been looking at these spots a lot lately. They do a lot of raising pre-flop. These
Yeah, I was
suited
gonna say, this
connectors.
is probably a 3-bet.
Yeah,
Late
they
middle
usually mix,
position.
they mix pretty heavy, but the deeper
Yeah.
you get, the more they prefer three betting. Past 50 big blinds or so.
So you're gonna flat ace queen off or you're gonna three bet 7-6 suited.
I know, right? No rhyme or reason.
Hmm,
Crazy
Suited
solver.
stuff that can make the nuts is good deep stacked.
So checks through
Oh.
the flop. You could probably bet small here, I would think. I don't remember what I did. I might have checked again.
I mean, I'd probably size up or check.
62.
I
I think
like a
this hand's
check.
gonna check because I imagine that other dude's gonna have some, decent amount of aces in his checking range.
He
Yeah.
should, right? I would think
Right.
since he's in
He's any
the,
good. If he's face up and just see bets every time he has it, I like to bluff a lot more.
well, actually, okay, I take that back. So he's closing the action on the flop. I think his range is gonna be betting pretty linearly, you know. We'll see though. basically just ace
Like
rag.
heads up, I think you should see bet versus like small blind a lot.
You got that ace 9-5, the ace 6-5, ace 7-5, those are all good. Ace 7, yeah, do the ace 7-5. And then you can just switch the other cards. But this is a slight problem because you're looking at 30 big blinds.
It's
Or a
gonna be
figure stack.
very different.
Yeah, but we're gonna see if we have like, leads. That would be a 4, right?
Yeah, why
Yeah.
are you looking at 30? It doesn't have it at 70.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're double the stack depth. I don't know how reliable this tool's gonna be.
Yeah. I wouldn't trust. it.
Okay.
30.
So,
Spades. We
You
do
got
have
a combo draw.
sliver of
You have a
lead.
pair of redraws. I think that's why it likes to do it sometimes with hands like that,
yeah, that's what I would think.
like a probe.
So you could even bet big here sometimes with it.
That's what I said, right?
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
so if it goes check, check, check on the flop, we can lead a little bit here.
If we're at 30 big blinds.
Yeah. Sure. It's not a perfect matrix, but it's the best we've got.
Check.
Yeah.
What are you doing here, Louis, on the river?
Well,
So,
you
like,
need a
he's
heart to
representing
call
a-
here. You
he's
have a
repping-
straight blocker though.
Yeah, he's representing a heart in my opinion, or he's bluffing. Like the queen is probably a shutdown card for him unless it makes his hand, right?
So what flushes does he have that go for this sizing?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like a flush is gonna go pretty large, I would think.
You would think.
This is like an weak ace or a better 7 going for value, I feel like.
I could see that. I could
I
see something
mean,
like that, or,
like-
or air, or air.
It,
Does
it's
he
hard to
go
put
for a
it,
small bet with like 8, 9 of like 9 high flush here?
Regardless, okay? I think here. We, like, there's two blockers we wanna have. We wanna have a heart to block the flush ideally. And then the second blocker we wanna have is to block the straight. So we block the straight here and we have a pair and yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
looking
this
him
is
up.
a
I can't help
call.
myself.
Yeah, I think I do look him up. I don't remember
I
100%.
don't think I would, even though it's under third pot. I mean, you got, geez.
it's just hard to put him on bluffs for
Close.
me.
It
Yeah.
shouldn't be really up to you guys. It's more like, do we have a heart or not? We don't. Do we have a
Mhm.
straight blocker here? We do. So we
Right,
have a
so
straight
there-
blocker.
There's some supporting evidence for a look up here.
Yeah,
But
Imagine
what
like the
bluffs?
queen is gonna be, like, if it's not the queen of hearts, I think the queen's gonna be a heavy check for them. So, I mean, he's probably got a better hand, but I still can't help myself.
so you
So
don't
let's
think
see
he ever
what-
bluffs here?
I think a
He's
lot of
got a
his bluffs are gonna be 6x and then just air, but I think we're blocking that. I'd rather not have a 6 to call here.
No, I think 6 is blocking value. He's the big blind, so he has a bunch of straights.
I don't think he goes this sizing with a straight.
I agree with Nick.
Anyway, I'm always calling. Okay. Hey, it was just a bit out of line.
He's way out of
Still
line.
silly.
Terrible.
You could go a little larger here for what it's worth. So we get a donk. What
just
do you
call.
think? Yep. I was gonna say,
Very
what do you think the
small.
widest we're floating here is?
I think you can raise weaker hands, but yeah. I
Right,
like calling here.
I think the jack is a little too strong. Maybe if you had a wheel component or something.
Yeah.
And now we just fold.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Jeez.
MDF would probably suggest you call this. I don't know what I did in game.
You're multi-way, so your MDF
You're
is
right.
super split.
Yeah, it's split. For sure.
Yeah. Show up with an 8 or 9s or something.
What's the worst hand you think we should be floating here? It's probably a better question.
A6 with the backdoor flush draw.
Back, yeah, I
ace-
got
ace
a
four with the backdoor flush draw.
backdoor flush draw, I think.
So you guys letting go of all combos of ace, king?
No,
No, not ace king.
Ace four is worse than ace king though. Calling ace king with the backdoor flush draw for sure.
Yeah. I'm sorry. When I say all combos, I meant all offsuit combos. I would agree. You're floating backdoor flush draws with it.
For a third pot, you gotta continue with that. You need 20% equity.
It's a pretty interesting spot. I'm not 100% sure how wide we are supposed to be here.
I think we need to call with ace king still.
Yeah, you only need 20% equity with ace king
Our range is just so wide.
for that size. It's my water.
Oh, so I did float. Okay.
yeah, probably fine.
Then we
don't
get
hate it.
blasted on the turn. Okay,
I
so,
prefer a 3-bet here.
right, yeah, I agree. We shouldn't have a ton of flats here, with this hand strength. It's gonna be in there some, but it's gonna be a majority.
I think
Yeah,
You're
see,
deep enough that, like, you flat that a lot.
Oops.
in there some.
What's the small blind in here with?
I like betting here.
Jesus.
There we go.
I don't like betting. I don't wanna get check raised off this.
Yeah, I'm
There's
kind of
a
in
lot
mixed.
of, there's a lot of good
Well-
turns for us, but if we bet in the big blind check raises, we just can't call.
I think we
Small blind
can
and big
call,
blind.
but 2 over. and a flush draw.
Four-way, easy check. Four-way.
We have a marginal hand. We don't really need to bloat a pot when someone could just have trip fives.
What do you bet here with?
Team check.
Because I would wanna bet with my backdoor flushes like this. 2 over and a backdoor flush.
I mean,
I think we
Nor-
check like 80% of the time and we need to bet 20% of the time. I think this is a very good candidate to bet.
Why do you think we want to bet our backdoor flush draws? Normally in solvers, we check those so we can see a turn.
Well, we can bet call.
I'd rather bet like diamonds here.
Yes.
If I had ace 10 of diamonds, I'd rather just bet.
I don't know,
hmm,
because it feels like with ace 10 of diamond, we just really are driving to a high card. So we benefit.
But like,
from
if we
taking
get check
turns.
raised, we can't really call.
I think what
think
Nick's
we
saying
can.
is, the ace 10 of diamonds, you can categorize as like the better end of your trash, so it's an easy decision if you face aggression. The waters get super muddy here if we face aggression from, let's say, like the big blind or something, you know? But, yeah, I don't know the answer. The only tool that I think we have that can, give us any semblance of what we're supposed to do here is HRC.
Yeah,
But that makes it easy. He just blasts bombs it.
yeah,
So,
sure.
I mean.
This guy in the big blind doing, what?
This is
Yeah,
just
I don't know
fold.
I don't know what the big blind's doing. I think I probably got wrangled in by the price here, though. I don't know what I do.
Do you 4-bet bluffer?
I would 4-bet. I think that big blind's dead money.
I just think ace queen offsuit EP is just doing absolutely horribly.
Yep.
And your only 4-bet size is a jam. Yeah, okay.
I like that a lot. I think that's the best play.
Yeah,
You get called by Jack
Oh,
or something.
no.
I don't know what happens here. I completely have.
And this would never happen if the big blind didn't flat. Like what's he flatting in there versus two strong ranges? It's
Nine,
amazing.
So-
ace
Again,
queen.
This is
Considering
my
we know the
prime
end of the,
4-bet bluffing candidate. It doesn't matter whether the big blind flats or not here. I like
See,
4
I
don't-
betting even heads up.
I'm kinda like Ken.
Are you
I'm
sure?
kinda with Ken. I don't know EP.
I think it's mostly a fold this deep. You wanna check charts? Just say the big blind didn't call.
I think
think-
Galen's
Oh,
observation
we have
about
charts with the big blind in there.
Oh, do we?
Yeah. So you can look at it.
But the big blind's not supposed to call.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't think he's supposed to call either, but he might have some
Louis,
like
Louis doesn't have a
slivers
cold
here and
calling
there of
range.
some shit.
Cold calling is just not a thing.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't think
in
so,
these
but
He's up,
I'm often surprised when I look at these multi-way ranges that there's some things I don't know.
it's just not a GTO thing.
Yeah, I've played with these ranges a bit. It's kinda like, overcalling as like the fifth caller. The ranges just don't exist in this chart
Right,
set.
I didn't think.
So
it-
if we were heads up, we could mix.
Right, it's completely indifferent at this point.
Yeah,
Uh,
heads up, it's
Gross.
mixing. And we don't
So
have.
the dead money enticed you.
Well, I think that's what happened, to be honest. Ken.
That's kinda what I was thinking.
But, I mean, it's obviously not bad. It's gonna be
Your
close.
comment about the position that the razor was in, I think is pretty notable. I mean, if this
Uh-oh.
were a cutoff or a button situation, I
Oh,
think it would be
All
different.
day, all day. And to be
Ooh.
honest, this guy right here, three betting with tens, this is wide. Like, I think it's a majority flat
Yeah, this is
at,
terrible.
at
And the
50.
call off the jam is absolutely terrible.
So verse RFI,
Well, he's
We're
calling a
first.
crazy punter, so I don't know.
well, that name does bait people. And okay, at 50, it's mixing frequencies. It's a coin flip. 50% of the time, it's okay. Three betting, 50% of the time, it's like,
So when you three bet and get
This-
jammed on, you're supposed to fold. He
that's
probably
a,
calls,
that's a,
doesn't
good-
it?
that's a
I
good
don't think
question.
so.
I would think you probably have to call.
But it's a
So.
PK, it's a PKO and he covers you, right?
Yeah, he's snapping
Okay,
it off.
actually, you're right, Peter. You're right, Peter.
Yeah.
He's, so like the chippy V ranges, slivers of call, but, I think Louis and Peter's observation, you just have to call if it's a PKO.
Yeah,
What's so
and
big with
I'm
the
not
hole?
sure. I think he probably
Oh,
covered
you
the big
just-
blind as well.
Just
Oh, this
ripped
is an
it, huh?
This
This
is
is an
solver
interesting hand.
approved.
Yep, this is, three bet pots where you have Jack 10 two-tone type boards.
Jack 10 8, Jack
Um,
10 7.
Yep, jack
all of those-
10 two-tone with a connected card, like
So what
seven,
else
eight.
are you
Right,
jamming? You jamming ace, king, king,
Yep,
queen,
ace,
I
king,
guess?
ace, king, ace, queen, pure jams.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could
King,
actually,
queen, I guess.
this is a good lesson. Like you could look at, the solution for this on GTO Wizard. It's, I think it's a function of what SPR does. Like normally you would kind of bet small. Or you
Yeah, I
would
would have
like
bet three
size
quarter
up.
pot and then jam turn probably.
Yeah. that's
Even like
what I was
80 big
thinking.
blinds deep, you're just you overbet jamming on the flop.
There's a lot of overbet jamming here at these situations, but, and it's specifically on these middling two-tone draw heavy boards. Because, their calling range, it's almost impossible for them not to have picked up some kind of equity on a board like
Yeah.
this.
Get it all
I say-
in while you're ahead, because any turn is gonna be bad. Right? Short of like a 4.
Right, so,
so red here is all in, so we have slivers of all in and ace king, ace queen, ace jack. Queens. Kings mostly just want a bit big.
Yeah, I would
This
bet
is,
big. I'd make a two street, bet big, flop, jam turn probably.
oh, let me just show the contrast with Odin while we're, kind of sitting here, because I did look at this. What are we, 50 big blinds deep, if I remember?
60.
It's 60, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I've only got 50 with Odin, unfortunately.
No, it was like
But
50, 52, I think, or
It'll,
50.
it'll show the distinction. Okay, so it's EP,
Yeah.
EP1. I'm just gonna
52.
share for 2 seconds, if that's okay, Louis.
I was looking at this spot, small blind versus a lot of different positions, and small blind was like just always ripping it in.
Right, so you see this behavior, a
Yeah,
lot.
you don't want to check back. I'm sorry, again, when you're in the small blind, you don't want them checking back when you check.
Well, yeah, yep, that's some of it too. So, three bet. What is, this is a different range. Did I look at the wrong thing? Under the gun, one, three bet pot. Is that what we were? I'm screwing something up.
That's it.
What did I look at that was different then?
Is that their range there, their calling range versus your open?
Mhm.
You on them?
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's your range.
This is my range. Okay, so, right, so I mean, you see a lot of this 2x pot here. Kinda like what Louis was saying. It's the same behavior.
Yeah,
wants to just bet large a lot.
yeah, it's a good play with ace king, ace queen, queens, but like if queens do it, I think you can do it with kings as well.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Stop sharing. Let's see.
Oh, goodness, sorry.
It's okay.
You should be.
Oh, I couldn't get to the mute button before I sneezed.
Oh, this one's gonna create some conversation. Okay, so pretty typical there. What is the population consensus here? Bet small?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
three
good.
bets to bet.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now what do we wanna do? Do we wanna keep going?
check.
Oh, or do we
I'm
wanna?
checking.
Think
I
check
would
is
check
good.
flop, honestly.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
Oh
so
my.
I'm surprised you didn't
now,
bet.
right, okay, that's a good point, Chris. Alright, so now where are we at with this?
Priced in.
I'm out.
Remember,
I would
it's a
fold.
PKO.
I'm out.
Holding. We're priced in.
Ugh,
So
yuck.
my next question is, what parts of his range want to do this sizing on this board texture? What hands are
Sevens,
Do you
tens.
think sevens are confident enough on a two-tone board like this? Tens are a pip above top pair here. I figured they would probably be the most likely to go bananas.
No, he's, when I see this, like I see a lot of either he has a set of nines or he doesn't want to go broke.
Okay, so does a set of nines four bet pre-flop at all? I don't know, I'm guessing.
He has
Nah.
jack 10.
People tend to back raise jam those middling pairs that they overcall with originally a lot. I see that a lot. So I don't really know what kind of sets he has here, except
Jack,
maybe
you
threes
think
and
jack 10 with a
fours.
flush draw?
We
Yeah, I
blocked the
think
flush draws pretty
like I
hard,
think he's
right?
trying to. He needs to bet to get you to fold because he can't win at showdown.
So why would a hand like
Here.
that choose this sizing as opposed to a jam that's less than one SPR?
We're super
Because
capped.
he's afraid for his tournament life.
Well, I mean, it's I think it's a little past that point.
Yeah.
Look at the pot odds, okay? You're offered 20% pot odds. You're gonna make a king or an ace like 12% of the time, and then maybe some portion of the time your ace high is good, right? So.
Yeah, well, that's the other big part of that equation is how often is ace high, best ace high good?
Yeah, so maybe,
I
The other-
don't like calling with this combo. We're blocking both
Yep.
flush draws.
So what's this, like 7, 8 or something? Like I can't even put them like,
So I agree with you,
right
Nick, right?
here, Nick, blocking both flush draw is very good.
No,
See,
7, 8, 8,
Yes, it
9.
is.
no,
Yeah,
we're blocking bluffs.
no, we're blocking value portion of his range.
It's not value.
It can
Yeah,
be
I don't know.
value, so
I
it's
don't know who the
not
hell
like a
this
brick.
is.
If
I'm
he
still
has
folding.
pocket tens, is that beating us?
Yep.
Okay, if he has ace of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, is that beating us?
If the flush completes on the river.
But
and
no,
he
right
has-
now, right now, right now, right now.
No, if the flush completes on the river, does he
Okay,
have a
but that's-
value on him?
That's 18% of the time he's gonna have
Yeah,
a value hand. I'm
So
talking about
we're
right
blocking
now.
value.
that-
still,
No, we're
right?
blocking bluffs that could be beating us later.
It's not a bluff, bro. It's a value portion of his range.
It's not
We could.
value if we're beating it.
I mean, I'm annoyed, but I'm just done because I don't wanna put chips in the pot, not knowing where I'm at, maybe having to call off another 19 bigs when I brick.
Well, and see, that's the other side of the coin there, right? So like,
Yeah.
if you get a bricky river after you call this bet, are you ever folding? Like, this is kind of where I mean, if you're calling this, you're basically committing.
Yep.
And then I have to ask this, I have to ask myself, okay, well, if he just jammed here, would I call? And I think if he just jams, I wouldn't call. But if I call this, I'm on the hook to call a lot of rivers. So the
Yep.
waters get kind of murky for me here. I remember in game, I came to the conclusion that I just don't see population doing this bet size with something that's got me crushed here on a board of a dynamic board like that. I feel like his value range is gonna wanna check or bet very big. So I ended up, I might have just leveled myself into this call, but if you look at like GTO Wizard or Odin, this is definitely in there.
I mean, combo draw is all you're gonna beat here, right?
So on the river, are you ever going to lead when the flush completes here, holding both the ace and king of those suits?
You know, that's an interesting question,
'Cause if
Peter.
you're
And
gonna call off, why not lead?
well, I guess it kind of gets into that aspect of like, are you ever getting better to fold? Maybe some. Or are you just gonna end
Why
up
would
bluffing
you?
with a better handle on? I mean, I
Why?
don't know.
Why would you lead? That makes no sense.
Yeah,
Is it-
see, I'm kinda there. I would be like more check call territory.
Are we supposed to see bet this one?
If I do remember correctly, you're actually just supposed to, I think you're supposed to bet small here. And, villain just actually does a lot of jamming, funny enough.
I would check, I think, because I have the club redraw and it's just kind of like, I think he's gonna have, if he doesn't back jam his pairs, that's what he's gonna have, a lot of pairs in his range. And the stuff I'm beating already.
Right, so here you go.
NTO
Here's
likes
the,
to check in 3-bet pots, right? Well, no, look at
There's some
this.
checking, right? Does it check clubs
There's
and
no
those?
checking. Look at this board. It's what? What
Jesus.
is it? It's 4-3-6.
You're not.
this is
checking
like
here,
a,
man.
yeah, this is like a 2-5, a 2-5-3 board or something. On a single raise pot. There's just, I don't know, there's just not gonna be a lot of stuff there is what I'm trying to
He's
say.
not gonna hit this board all that often. Like
But he's gonna
saying
have
that I
pair
hit a
over
set.
pairs in his range, right?
You're
That's
sizing
what I
up
want-
with clubs here, Ken.
You're what?
Right,
Sizing up with clubs.
Okay.
right, you're correct, Ken. He's gonna have some over pairs, but who's got aces and kings here? Who's got the best over pairs
Yeah,
here?
we do.
So, I mean, if he should be behaved with regards to that. I know a lot of people still don't, but
Okay,
Like,
well, we should be
I'm-
double
but, like,
barreling
I'm-
very,
I'm
very
even
often.
value betting here. Like ace king, you're value betting. He still have like a bunch of broadways, a bunch of suited aces.
Think you're still
Mhm.
trying to get rid of the clubs and diamonds. So, okay, we could totally double barrel here, but we did not. And we face a third pot. Yeah. She should be going somewhere between 50% and 25%. Let's go. for
so if
25.
you actually give him the larger sizing, that's the most interesting node to me. Like, if you give him the larger sizing, we're still calling. It's just like, I don't care. Like, I think you could even go all in here and it still calls. I know it's not really a node. But just for example's sake, yeah, you're like this is
Mixing.
kinda,
Mostly
this is
calling.
kind of crazy to me right here, right?
Yeah. Also calling off with like 10-8.
Right, yeah,
the
pretty
flush
nuts,
draw.
huh?
Yeah, okay. And if you add the bounty to it, okay. That's a very good call.
No, this is a PKO too.
Yeah.
It is a PKO. So, and then we get this, right? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, I don't think, I don't think you can ever fold this.
I'm not folding this one.
Not
I'll
now.
fold
I
the
got all
ones
my
without
chips-
the.
I got all my
Fold
chips
the
in the
ones
middle.
without
I
the
ain't folding.
clubs.
Right. Like, I just don't think you ever fold this, right? Like,
Yeah, fold the one without the clubs.
Yeah, but your call is 0 EV.
yeah, it is. It's not like,
If it's
printing
0
money.
EV and chip EV, then it's probably making a little in the bounty.
Like if
call.
he has the
And
Echo
then
what I
you
said.
scoop him, take his
Yeah.
pass down. Because yeah, assuming players will be bluffing their bounty.
Well, and the other
assuming they have
problem, the
bluffs,
problem
and
you
any
run into
0
here.
EV.
Yeah, you have to be right so infrequently to make this call. Like, it's like 1 in 6 or 7 times, like they have to show you a hand like this to make it profitable?
So I see this all the time. A rec is afraid of his tournament life, and that's why he makes that small bet on the turn, and he has to bluff that river. And yeah, like I knew that was going to be a good spot to call.
Yeah,
His
it's,
turn
it's,
bet
it,
size doesn't make sense. All
Well,
his
yeah,
all
and-
his value hands want to protect and want to jam there.
I agree completely. And as Louis has said time and time again in this group, if you want to exploit me, do some
Cut off
weird
bluff.
little. So,
Yeah, I was
Simple as
saying a lot of Recs are gonna bet with their seven, like their small pairs, and they'll own you, and they'll get value from your ace high or whatever. But
so I might
What
be
do we do
overfolding
here?
this spot. Yeah, I don't know. I might
I
be
would- I would
overfolding this
call
spot.
because we're in position. I think it's in the calling range against a three bet.
I don't hate a call here. I don't think. Let's see.
I think
I
King
know
Jack and King Queen definitely call, but I don't
No,
know
you're
about
right,
King
yeah.
It's a-
10. No,
It's a call and even
think
more
it's
so
call.
versus the sizing. He 3-bet 3.5x, you're in position.
Yep, you're right. This is squarely in the calling range. Queen 10 offsuit is kind of where it's drawing indifference. Ace 9 offsuit.
When you
Getting
say
a-
because of the sizing, are you saying that's a large or small sizing?
It's small
Smaller,
sizing.
right? It's smaller, so we're further priced in is what Nick's saying.
Yeah, when you're out of position and you're three betting, you want to be betting larger. Because in position, you can just call and see a flop.
Well, I knew king ten was a call, but why that I didn't know was that I could four bet bluff with king nine here.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Like, I'm not in there yet.
Huh?
And what is
And
that,
not with
60?
ace queen and not with the wheels there, which is something I do wrong.
So
I do
let's
it with
see.
ace 9, not king 9.
You're calling, okay, so when you get down to 35 big blinds, that's where this kind of hand starts becoming a little indifferent.
Yeah.
I don't mind the fold, Galen, because a lot of guys aren't going to just three bet you with 8-7 offsuit like I will and stuff. So
Fair.
Your range is gonna shrink. I don't mind the
It
fold.
will on GG.
That's equally as fair.
Oh yeah, man. GG are the people are crazy, man. They're up to gamble.
Big
They're
dog?
calling off jams.
Oh,
Well,
Okay,
when I'm playing live,
so
it's kind of easy.
this is
fold,
a
you know?
interesting hand right here. Okay, so. Um,
I don't like the
This is-
jam.
yeah, I
this is
wouldn't jam
greedy.
either.
well, this is greedy, right? So my thought was there's 2 flush draws available. He's got an EP range. He's gonna have some strong hands that are gonna be kind of put into a tough spot here, but I just think we're getting too much to fold with a ridiculous bet like this.
He donked flop,
yeah.
right?
0.2x.
I don't think he donked flop. I
It
think
looked like
he,
he did.
He did not dunk flop. Ken.
Okay, you went so fast, I thought he donked.
Why do you not go geometric here?
I suppose you could. The reason I did not go geometric here is because of how dynamic the board was in the
You're
time.
blocking it.
We're
Also,
blocking
I
one of
mean,
them.
I think you
how
might have a
dynamic
read
is
that
it
this guy's a
versus
calling
under the
station.
gun?
Aren't these villains gonna chase their draws more often in a PKO?
They.
Not when we
should.
have them covered.
Not when they're not covered, yeah. Not when
Yeah.
it's covered.
I mean, so like a bet like this is probably gonna be folding out like a lot, like, okay, ace. Queen, like, okay, so ace high heart draws would probably have to continue. Queen high combo draws, so like queen hearts, X hearts probably continues. Kings is gonna have to continue. Ace queen, is in a really tough spot. We double block that though. King, queen out of there, I'm sure. Unless it's
I actually
hearts.
think if you have kings here, it's better to bet with kings than aces because you
The more I
get
think
called
about
by
it, the
ace
more I
queen
like it
more.
because it's very likely that he calls your flop bet with the queen and on this break turn. It's very tough for him to fold like queen ten, queen jack.
Well,
You can
yeah,
have pairs
king.
worse than a queen too, and all of them that don't block, that are blocking the clubs and hearts are gonna give up. for sure.
My only critique is I think I would like a bet size like this to Nick's point if I was unblocking the aces. Because like a hand like ace queen is in a pickle here, right? Like you got the wheel draw back up.
Yeah, still nice. I like this play.
You can do
Yeah, well,
whatever you
hearts are
want.
supposed to
Queen
overbet the
jack.
turn, right? So
Yeah, you got the max here.
And yeah, I do get the max because he has one of those very specific hands that is, he's
Yeah.
kind of priced into call here.
And probably not paying off a big bet on the river, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna pitch the hand on the river.
Okay. what about
Greedy for
this
sure,
one?
though.
2.2
Interesting.
So 3-3-4-2 tone unblocking. I think a hand like this is gonna probably benefit from a larger bet.
It's a pair board, so I don't think you bet bigger.
Probably not, maybe not, I'm not sure.
In position, we don't really bet big on paired boards.
this hand probably will, like your tens and jacks need the most protection against overcards rolling off.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw it in Odin for 2 seconds.
He's
since
gotta
we're here.
start folding a shit ton of offsuit over. The offsuit stuff's gonna start folding a lot to one bet already.
I would agree, the overall range is gonna want to lean small, without a doubt. I'm just, not 100% sure on this.
I'm interested what we do versus the raise. I feel like I'm gonna call a lot, but I think you can get the raise, just put it in
I
sometime.
think you just jam it all in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, when we
it's
face that.
Definitely.
I like keeping their
Three-bet
bluffs
small.
in, so I tend to call a lot. And then keep my
Um,
life when the board gets better for them.
I
So,
think you could call with a club in your hand, but no clubs. I think you just put it in.
There's
Rip.
a little bit of big betting with eights, nines, tens, jacks.
Yeah.
it gets less as you go higher pairs. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, that heuristic stands true here for sure.
So it's probably fine to size up here a little bit. Does it mind whether you have the club or not? Nope.
Yeah, it looks indifferent, huh?
Yeah.
Now versus click back, like, I mean, we don't love this, right? But, I
The
still think
question
we
is, do you
probably,
raise it back or you to get it in, or do you just call?
100% raise back.
I think you just click it. I think you just put them in at this point.
Yeah, just rip it.
That's what I would think. I don't know what I did in game.
Against the big blind?
5-6s, clubs,
Yeah.
I call a
So-
lot. I just like.
or
to
backdoor
bluff 'em.
hearts.
Let him call off with his high equity draws, and sometimes you're gonna run into a 3.
Yeah, so
Very
when you don't have the club, you're just kind of putting her in. Even when you have the club, it's kind of like whatever.
Yeah, when you
Part
don't
of
have
it
the
is
club,
you-
you're mixing.
Mhm,
When you
mhm.
have a club, you always put it in.
It doesn't say all in at all anywhere. Why is that? There's no
Well, it's a
red.
raise. It wants to raise. Doesn't wanna rip.
No matter what you do,
yeah.
you can't make a mistake there. Everything was the same EV.
It's only 25 bigs.
Well,
behind
do you
it.
have the stacks right here? I mean, are we
No,
playing?
no, no,
with
no.
the-
What he's doing that's different is he put a 33% bet on the flop. I actually went closer to 55. So you'll see probably some more aggressive actions.
Oh, okay. That's why it's wrong.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah,
Alright,
without the
now-
club, you're actually going all in now.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because like he's still check raising with 5, 6,
Likes to
7s,
be
8s,
fucked with 'em.
9s.
Galen likes to
There that are
fuck
never
people.
escaping.
I don't remember this hand. This is silly, but, I mean, you just need to jam this in.
Oh,
Get there on the
wow.
road.
Oh.
You think you're screwing with him. You think you're screwing with his life, putting him in the blender, and then you just get him on the river.
Oh, now,
Can down
man,
the river. Wow.
That's
how,
pretty sweet.
how unfortunate for, Mr. Ace 3 suited. there.
No kidding.
That's like the best feeling, just randomly hitting a turning or rivering a set is like 20 times better than flopping a set.
It is, it really is. All hope is lost and then there it is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a full.
First place in the tournament and 35 wrecked souls.
Falling here. cover.
So clearly to think one of these play well is on the list, but so is one.
So let's
What
slow it down real
tournament
quick.
is that are we
Hold on,
watching?
hold on. We're talking a lot. Let's slow it down real quick. What are we doing pre-flop here? Are we
I'm
calling here?
folding.
I
Yeah,
like
it's
calling
fine. Pre-flop's
because
all
we
fine
cover.
here.
I'm 4 betting
I
or
agree with
folding.
Louis. I like calling because we have everyone
Okay.
covered.
Oh,
So
wait, it's a
PKO.
PKO too, right? I forgot it's a PKO, so. okay.
Right, so that's
Carry on.
that's the adjustment I was gonna say. In a chippy V scenario, no PKO standard tournament. I don't like this, but when we have access to everyone at the table. I think this becomes more of a mandatory get in, especially when we have position.
So here, do you get it in or do you just call?
We
I
got too
like
much
jamming.
equity, man. You just put it in. You just put it in here.
Yeah.
But
Really?
they
Shuffle
didn't
off,
get
I
a
guess.
chance at the other guy's bounty.
Yeah, you just put it
Double
in.
knockout.
Oh,
Wow.
scammed,
Oh,
scammed again, man.
Damn
Awesome.
everybody. But this guy was just drawing dead anyway.
Yeah, Jack 10 was really not having a good day when he saw my cards. And then the turn.
And are you guys defending 8-5 offsuit in the big blind multi-way?
No,
Fuck no.
no, that's a
then-
good point.
It's
And then
really
Doppy
bad,
flop.
especially that he doesn't cover anyone and those two other people cover him.
And
It's
and they cover
horrible.
him like 12 times over too, right? Like,
Right.
and the
Okay,
guy
so
did the best. He made a pair and stuffed it. So
there's some merit to talking about this. What are you guys wanting to do on this flop? I don't know the answer. It checks through on the flop and then it goes bet call on the flop. Are we strong enough to raise? Should we raise? What are we doing here?
I think it's just a call.
I agree.
Yeah, I kinda like calling too, right? After it goes bet call, big blind obviously has something here. Like he's not opting into this with complete air.
Yeah.
And if you get
So-
jammed on there, I mean, you're kind of stuck. So do you really want to do that?
Well, yeah, that's the other part of it too, I think, is, we have a pretty strong hand, but I mean, versus a made hand, we're looking at what, 30% equity, maybe a smidge more. Multi-way, even worse, so. Yeah, I kinda like managing the pot here, even in my, position in the tournament currently.
yeah, they're a little too deep. If they had 30, I think you'd be putting it in here, but
Right, yeah, no, I agree that it flips somewhere between 30 and 40 is kinda like, I'm willing to wager, you know. And then the bounties play into that too, so if they have like a really large bounty, I would be more aggressive here. So the turn, another interesting area of talk. We have, the effective nuts right now, right? He can't have queen jack, but a board
Yeah.
this dynamic, I think a hand like this is gonna benefit more on the river. Keeps our range wide enough to where we can play rivers. Without being completely capped, right? So like if we. That's one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is like, you can just put him in here because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but the
Uh,
thing is, it does matter because if he has a flush draw, he's never gonna pay unless he makes
Yeah,
it.
he doesn't have queen jack or he wins up at half pot here with 2 flush draws, right?
mhm. And like a flush draw, okay, so if you jam over this. Is he priced in to call his flush draws? I think it gets a little close.
It gets troublesome for sure. It is troublesome.
Put him in a
His
bad
bets-
spot.
yeah, like his bet sizing was still multi-way, so that's a big bet.
What were,
Right.
wow, what were your plans for the river on different cards? If you're just gonna call,
Well, so like, I mean. Let's say the 10 pairs. And he just jams on me. You know, our hand is basically calling to a chop or we're probably dead, right? So
and
it gets a
any
little-
leads, I was wondering.
And yeah, no, I'm never leading
Okay.
this board with this hand.
Cause this is
class.
as blank as it can get, so this is the,
Well, yeah, this is great, right? So I mean, I still
Yeah.
have the effective nuts. It's
Yeah.
a blank on the river, so I can still play my hand confidently because of how I played it on the turn.
And he can't fold when you raise here.
No, he can't fold. So I mean, yeah,
I
like
mean,
I just put
he
him in here.
can.
I mean, I guess he could, like that. I guess that's fair.
He could be bluffing, like he could have just a
Yeah, just chop, I
Draw.
figured.
Yeah, the hand's less interesting than we were making it, but
Yeah.
I think those considerations are important to think about.
I like a big bet here.
Yeah, you could definitely big bet here. I bet small. I
Yeah,
think all options are probably on the table there.
4.
Check
Yeah.
back folds.
Fine.
Okay.
Jeez, again.
We get another really good hand. Check, raise,
Oh,
jam,
yeah.
call.
Thank you,
Tony.
sir.
Scam.
Yep, he got scammed unfortunately for him. Easy game when things come out like that, right?
Well, as you know, it doesn't come out like that on your first game, right? You have to play a few.
Never. Yeah, takes a couple tries. That's probably a call. Well, I don't know. He's kinda short. What are we doing there?
I don't like calling.
Galen, on the aces,
If it's in the calling range, it's gonna be at the stone bottom of the range. This guy doesn't bluff enough. So you can't justify calling here.
Are his bluffs gonna
well-
come from suited nines there too?
It's actually call. This is an actual call, but like Louis saying, it's the floor. What was the
Yeah.
question about the aces before we?
I just, did you, pre-flop, did you not three bet them? Did you flat them to trap him? I didn't notice it went by fast. Or did you
No,
three bet? You just got
three
screwed.
bet.
It was
Okay.
raised, yeah, it was raised call, I think.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
See.
What was
so
the sizing on the flop here?
small. I think he went small flop. Yeah.
Oh, he bet small. You called, okay. Yeah, I like sizing
Turn.
up.
I like going big because I have the spade blocker. We still have the gut shot as a backdoor. Nuts card.
What size would you go if you had a 9 here?
If I had a 9, I would probably go the same size.
So I would probably overbet here to make it like a pot size jam with my 9. So that's kind of what I want to do with this hand.
Yeah, I don't
To
hate that.
try to get his bounty.
You're blind versus blind. You can't overbet.
You
It's gonna be
absolutely can.
close, right?
You kinda have to try to keep the guy in the hand. I haven't seen much overbetting blind to blind versus blind.
So I mean, we'll be 34. It'll be an overbet on the river or an overbet here. It's probably
So
fine.
like, if it's not a PKO, this is, I have no problem like making it just going for chips here and on the river, but in PKOs, I'm trying to get the bounties, so my sizings are gonna be bigger a lot. I don't know if that's good or bad.
There's probably merit to that. I don't hate that idea. I mean, you want this guy all in when you have the nuts, without a doubt.
Just such a shit river.
This scenario is kind of interesting. So, we have obviously little to no showdown here. So, do we bluff?
Yeah, I think you need to stuff it.
My kind of thought with this is after he calls a turn polarized like that, we are pretty much double blocking a lot of the combos we need him to have.
I agree. I think it's a give up.
8-10.
There's tens. You're right. There is the 10. But he's gonna need an 8 or a jack to go along with that 10 to make it continue on the turn, I would think. Then we're
I
blocking
agree.
spades, I mean, the fact that trips runs out makes spades a little less relevant. I mean, he's still gonna be floating some spades, so he's gonna have some flushes that we can probably blast him off here. But,
With a high spade, I think it's not too crazy to bluff as well.
yeah.
I think he has a fuck ton of queens here.
Oh, I do too. I think that's the primary part of his range. He's gonna have the case 9 some, and he's just gonna have a ton of queens, I think.
Yeah, but what queens check back on the turn, blind versus blind?
Well, he didn't have to check back. So he raised the flop. He checks the turn after
Yeah.
he goes check. I bet the turn. So I mean, I think he's gonna have some queens that take a bet, check, bet line. I
He
would
didn't,
think.
he didn't raise the flop. He just bet out. It was.
Yeah, he bet out. Yeah, he bet out.
I
call,
think
bet
in
call,
a
check bet.
in a PKO, when you're against someone who has you covered, you kind of play passively on a paired board, even with you like a queen.
Well, I personally do. Like, I mean, I may put a little more credence in that than I need to, but you know, when decisions split, I usually make my decisions based on if I cover or not, you know, have access to that bounty. But, I don't know. I ended up checking and it worked out that time.
What
Did
did
he
he
have a
have?
nine?
He had the
And
9,
deuce.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
which is a fine hand to raise pre-flop also. I mean, I think it's a good one. This probably raises at some frequency.
I like calling. You have a big
Yeah.
blind with 20 bigs. You want to keep him in the hand.
Yeah,
I think
kind
either
of,
one's probably fine.
Yeah, we just let it go at that point. Ace deuce. So this is an interesting spot. Like, I don't know how wide I should be hunting here from this stack depth.
Pretty
Um,
close here. Pretty
I
close.
feel like it is close. I feel like it is close, right?
I mean, how many chips is this? Do we know?
Nope.
You could
You start this tournament with what, like 100,000?
50 if
1,000.
or 25, 50 or 25, I forget what it starts with.
If it's a min bounty, it's not really appealing, right?
Well, it's
I
not,
mean, it depends. If it's like a third of a starting stack, it gets more appealing, right?
You're just gonna be up against a lot of better aces and you have one ace against a pair, so. I think it's okay to fold this.
right.
So,
My decision here, I think is completely variable on if that bounty is appealing or not.
I'm
I agree.
not thrilled with the open, Galen. You're in the
Well,
cutoff. Ace too often,
yeah,
right?
I know what the standard chippy V ranges are.
It's
The fact that
PKO,
I
yeah.
have, the fact that I have the table covered over 2x. I'm in a very advantageous situation where I should be amping up the aggression past what you would.
Okay, so
100%.
that's a change to bounties then. Okay, I don't play
Yeah.
bounties. So,
In
okay, I'm with
PKOs, when you have everyone covered, you get to open a lot wider from
it.
everywhere.
Okay,
You
I
should
didn't
be.
know that.
You definitely should be. Yep.
All right.
So we went bet call. What are we doing here? We're double blocking, we're blocking the nuts and we're, blocking, we have the backdoor draw that's come in. I
I
think I
think
like
you can
sizing up
check
here.
to check raise or size up.
Yeah. I think I just lean towards sizing up just because, he's probably not gonna be, we're blocking some of his obvious bluffs, I would think. But, I don't know, where you at, Louis, with this?
Yeah, I like sizing up because, for value, just for pure value or one of our best aces.
Yeah, it's kind of
9
where
and
I'm
a
at.
half. Yeah.
What
9 and
hands
a
do
half, okay.
you check the check raise to protect your checking range?
Just
Ace five.
my, yeah, ace
You're
five.
check raising ace five?
Probably. I don't know if I am really trying to balance my checking range here, to be honest. When I have this many chips, I am, taking the role of, as Louis would say, the hunter. I'm just, I'm out to put people in bad spots and, collect booties. That's what I'm doing. So,
So what
I
if
don't
you
know how,
have kings?
well, I might fire another small bullet and give up on the river, or I might check the flop and call, take a check call line.
I like going all in here.
I don't know what I do here. Yeah, I do go.
Oh
all in.
my
We get-
goodness.
Feels bad, doesn't it, man?
Come on, 3.
You're in trouble.
That doesn't
Oh,
help
it's
that
coming.
doesn't help the situation either, does it?
It's coming. Come on,
Uh-oh.
3.
Nope. No
No, we just
dice.
brick it. We brick it all.
Ouch.
Well, GG's.
So why do I have 200 big blinds again? What's going on? here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good question. From 40
Yeah,
to
something.
200.
Cause he plays really, really good.
So it says hand 35 and then click the next one. Hand 36.
How
Something's
much did you pay
goofy.
GG for those extra chips? Quick while they're
Something's
not looking.
goofy.
Yeah, how's that?
What about the time? Look at the times. So it goes from 31 to 34, 36. We did the V pip hands. So 107 goes 106, 107.
Check this out. We go from 80 to 200, back to 40, back to 200.
Yeah, there's something goofy here. I don't know if I gave you the wrong hand history or what happened. I don't think so.
I think it's just a bug. We don't have really 200 bigs.
It must be. I remember looking through some of these hands and I did see one that I was kinda like, I don't remember that one. But, yeah, I don't know. We can continue and see. We call. Check, bets one, call one, don't need to do this.
Yeah, I don't like the call.
No,
Don't know what we're going for. Oh, I mean, if we're calling the bluff. So 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, if we're calling the turn, we have to have some of this in our range.
yeah. I'd have sized up more, but
Well, he priced you into call with an 8. You only bet one chip.
Now we're back to 200. Alright,
oh,
that's a pretty good flop.
that's not bad.
Alright, so how do you guys like to split your range here? What do you like to do? I think we've studied this spot before as a group.
I'm just calling here.
Yeah, we got the
Obvious.
absolute nuts. You just check call.
Yeah, you
Obvious.
wanna call because we're blocking the other combos that he can have of flushes pretty hard, right? Like,
Yeah,
You're
I think he's
blocking
only
all the
got,
goodies.
he's got like jack eight, maybe. at
Jack
some
8 of
frequency.
diamonds. Yeah,
So going
that's
back to
about it.
Chris, sorry. So going back to Chris's comment at the top of this meeting, what's your longer plan to get it in here?
I think honestly, a hand like that strength, you should just go check call, check call, check call. I mean, if he
I
bets,
agree.
if he bets geometrically, he's gonna put it in for you right there. And we just have the board so locked up is the only reason I would take that sort of line. I don't need to do this. I could bet small here, or I could check.
Yep.
Pot, okay.
Do you like betting small on those paired boards? Cause he's supposed to check raise more on paired boards, and when you have the top pair, that's kinda you want him to.
Yeah, definitely. This is a range bet small.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so too. I think so too. I don't think we need to, bet large here.
This is a bet big spot. 2K cards for the big line. One of our.
Oh,
best
yeah.
pairs.
Yeah, I would agree. This looks like
Overbet.
a large. You could overbet this, I think.
Nice.
Okay.
Ooh, pick up more equity, but the six is
How do you check
bad.
this turn? Because of 6 pairs?
Yep.
Did I check it back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the 6 pairing.
Yep.
I mean, this is probably, I don't think you should be checking this back a lot, but, I mean, you're
Either
gonna
way.
have some parts of your range that are gonna bet large on the flop and basically give up, which is gonna induce bluffs from him.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is necessarily one of the hands we wanna be doing it with. Check.
Oh, you
Okay.
could've gotten more.
Yeah, he probably would have paid me more on the turn.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm getting two streets regardless, right? So it's either bet, check, bet or bet, bet.
Yeah.
bet and he folds the river, I think.
Yeah, when he checks, he never has a 6 though, so I thought you could size up big pot size.
I like this hand.
No
Yeah, just,
hunting for you.
yeah, just isolating the big blind there is the plan. Again, overcalling I think is fine there. I think, okay, I remember this hand. I ended up calling here. I think you probably should just let this go. It's,
Yeah,
Definitely. You wanna call the wheels, you wanna call ace ten, but that part,
Three-way.
ace nine, ace eight, ace seven, ace six, I would fold.
yeah, I don't know if I was influenced by the bounties available or what that was.
This is fine.
Probably.
I mean, you were relatively deep stacked in position with a hand that can make the nuts.
You are. I just think you're not, your hand's performing pretty horribly, versus a 3-bet and a call. Multi-way.
Yeah, hitting your ace is a nightmare.
It is, it's not good. You're basically calling for a couple sixes or spades.
Yeah.
Ace,
like
ace 7 probably does this at some frequency, I would think.
No, this here, you want a spade to bet? And you're
Yeah,
out of position, so you're checking a lot and betting big a lot.
Yeah, I think, I can get behind that. I would agree. Yeah,
You
we
pick up
just,
you Bet this flop and you pick up equity on this turn. I'd like a follow-up.
Hmm,
Also, when you bet and then you check, he has a bunch of junk like flush draws and
Yeah.
stuff. And
even a
when you
7,
check,
yeah.
like you don't have any more aces.
yeah, I kind of agree. I think I butchered this one. I don't like how I played that hand. I think it plays better as a check call, to be honest,
Ten
or a
was
check
coming on
fold.
the river and opponent has a 7.
Yeah, I was getting screwed the other way, so. This is fine.
I don't think this is fine at all.
Guy opens with 27 big blinds. I've got 126. I cover.
Yeah, I like this bounty hunting.
Think you need 9, 10.
But I mean, chip EV, sure, but like we want the bounty.
I am the hunter.
Okay,
Remember?
If he's deeper, do you ever three
I
bet
mean,
that?
you don't wanna get jammed on, cause you just have to fold.
I
Well, I
like
think
this
that's-
because you ISO the button here.
Yes, yeah, I would agree. That's, the goal here is to ISO the button. When this happens, I think we just have to fold. We're performing pretty terribly versus whatever that is.
Yeah.
That was a pot shot at the button.
Yeah.
That hand's pretty horrible. Yeah, okay, I think this is good. So small blind took his
fine.
bid at that bounty and I put him in his place,
Yeah. he's
As-
doing
Put him in
well.
his place.
as you should. You gotta teach these youngins some respect. And hit rivers.
That's how you bounty hunt, son.
Okay,
Oh, boy.
yeah, okay. Open, call.
So you went
Hang in the
back to
middle.
2.5 here, because it's at 60 and you were at 2.1 at 50.
I usually modulate that based off of who I'm most likely to play against, so if there's a lot of
Eh.
rejam stacks, I'll go down to 2.1. Or 2.2. Usually the case, I mean, not 100% foolproof.
I'm fine being around 2.2 all the time, you know, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter.
Sometimes I've got a million tables going on and I just click the button.
Oh, that's true, because when I see that at a table, I'm like, yeah, the guy's been betting 2.1 and now he's at 2.5, but you don't see that with 20 tables going, that's true.
Yeah, okay, verse EP. And
Sizing
I'm
up,
covered.
Don't you gotta 3-bet that?
no,
I'm covered. I think you wanna be respectful, and if I
Oh.
recall, at this stage of the tournament, I have a pretty large bounty. because of my earlier shenanigans.
I like this hand a lot.
7, again, expanding, you could probably fold this chippy V. Yeah, okay, I don't think we need to bet that turn like
Nope.
that. I don't think we need to size up there.
So instead of betting the turn, you check, bet the flop, check and then evaluate based on his bet size on the turn. And then if he, again, probably fold.
Yes.
Okay.
He had better than I thought for a one big blind bet. Terrified of the queen.
Okay, so what happened here? I bet he raised. Is that what happened, or did I check raise?
Nope, you bet spot and over bet spot and you call.
Okay. I think this is probably fine. You got a pair, backdoor flush, we get the
I
ace
think you should fold here.
You can't fold.
here. I think our hand's too good.
Thing is, like, it screams he has ace eight here or pocket nines. And then
Backdoor flush over, do the math. You need 33%.
9, 10, jack 10.
4, yeah. That's
would you
fine.
bet like that with jack ten? You would bet small or check, no?
No, I'd bet pot with jack 10.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
But I don't know if other people are doing that, but also like PKO still. Like if we hit a 3 or an ace or a heart,
I could, I think I'm drawing the line in that hand with the backdoor flush draw. If I didn't have the backdoor flush draw on that hand, I'd probably let it go. Okay, yeah,
reasonable.
I mean,
One
I
thing,
remember this hand. And it's, I mean, when he makes that bet, it's obvious he's got basically the nuts. So I'm wagering 20%, 20 big blinds here, knowing I've got 30% equity at best, probably. Very rarely. I mean, he might have tens here some of the time. Nines, I don't know. But this is like red flags. 20 big blind
Yeah.
stack, 3-betting into a big stack.
yeah,
It's always
Maybe-
aces or kings.
maybe folding here is fine.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Probably another based off the bounty
Okay.
decision.
I think this was a mistake. This hand right here. What is everyone doing here before we click the button? Wanna have a little discussion.
Absolute jamming.
I'm hunting.
Absolutely, absolutely, huh? Alright, so I
Yeah,
looked
like-
at the bounties. I looked at the bounties here. Under the
These
gun
guys
is
have
min
more min bounties, definitely getting after it.
bounty.
Before we answer that, Galen, where are we in the tournament? I mean, are we in the money? Are we towards the ladder? What's going on?
Any
Can
ICM?
you, do you have the option to change big blinds to, chips, Louis, in the wheel? That'll give us a better insight if you do. I don't know if you do. Okay, so I've got about 2 starting stacks here. A little over, I think, if I recall. This is either 4 starting stacks or 2 starting stacks, I forget. So, I mean, I would venture to say this is probably still in registration period.
Is this not a 10,000 chip?
It's 25 or 50. I forget what the starting stack is.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain. I don't know if you have the ability to, somebody has the ability to pull up GG. You can look at the 5250 daily main and figure that out.
So I think the driving factor here is the small blind gonna be jamming worse pairs than eights to ISO?
Right, yeah, that's a good question. I think that's a good question. And I don't know the answer. I just, in the moment, I was thinking, okay, I'm covering, I'm hunting. Without thinking that, okay, small blind's range is jamming into me, knowing damn well that I have been getting after it. 1, 2. It's an under the gun jam, so he's jamming over that, which there's some supporting evidence here that his hand's a little bit stronger than you would think. But I don't know. I feel like it's close. I feel like nines is kind of like a autopilot spot.
I agree, it's close.
I feel like nines is like just automatic, but I don't know about this one. It would be. Is, kind of where I'm at with that.
Out of time. Sorry.
2 seconds, I'll be right back.
I think we
This
should-
were- If that wasn't a PKO, if this was just a regular tournament, that would be a fold because the early position.
Snap
open-
fold.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be like queens are better, maybe jacks are better.
Yeah, that intuition's good. I think jacks is where it gets close. I think you're just letting go of tens, like it's not even a question.
I think 30 big blinds, you rumble with tens.
Verse EP open, small blind rejam.
Yeah. It's 30 bigs.
Alright, multi-way charts coming out, 30 big blinds. Let's see. So we got an EP razor. No, we need a cold 4 range, so
Ooh,
we're going to be in the big blind versus small blind. Oh, that's 4 bet. We need cold 4. 3 betters, the small blind EP is PFR. Come on, come on. 35 maybe? Alright, so 35 cold 4 range is jacks plus at 35. EP, small blind, big blind.
And
So the 5250 that's running right now, the deep stack turbo is 20,000 chips.
No,
Yeah,
no,
but
no,
look
it's
at
not
the
the,
range.
it's not the deep stack turbo, Peter. It starts in, I wanna say an hour or so. It's the
Okay.
5250 main.
Oh, there it is. It is 25,000 chips.
25, so 4x starting stack.
So one guy has 2 starting stacks, one guy has one less than 1 starting stack. So the 1 starting
Yes.
stack is gonna have a greater than 1 bounty power. And
Mhm.
if the guy has a bounty that he's picked up, then you're definitely bounty hunting at more than 1 bounty power.
Okay,
Yeah, you're definitely good bounty hunting there with 8s if they have more than min bounties.
they both did have min bounties.
That's a little
Man,
tighter then.
yeah.
You're definitely good against the really small stack. Against the medium stack, he has 2, so he has like a half bounty power. So you're getting a couple % from him. But you can still win one and lose the other, and you're okay
Right.
because you cover both.
This is kind of close. We're covered, but we have position. I folded. I don't know if that's a good fold, bad folds.
Well, this guy 3 bets early position. So maybe it's a good fold, but I think you're supposed to call here.
It's close, right? Like, he is 3 betting a guy that he covers at open EP, so that would suggest. It's pretty strong range, but I don't know.
On the hand where with the eights where we said it was jacks plus, was that jacks plus ace king, ace queen suited or jacks plus ace queen suited? What were the offsuit and suited
King.
hand?
Ace queen
Um,
probably folds. Oh,
Ace queen suited is going with it. King queen suited is indifferent. Ace queen off is folding.
Okay,
Ace king off is going.
gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
4 bet range. We just gotta let that go. This is too strong. Sad to see it, but, oh wait, I still lost. This spot you could min raise. I chose jamming here. I feel like it looks a little weaker going into a couple 13s. Same story. I lost a pot somewhere, it looks like. What happens here? We managed to.
Oh,
We call and get lucky.
very lucky.
King 9, we call here. Don't know why I didn't get check raised there.
Lose the minimum.
Yeah,
That ice nine seemed horribly misplayed.
Yeah, seems a bit wide, doesn't it?
With the two players in, yeah, it seems terrible.
Ace jack here as well. Seems a bit wide.
I didn't see I didn't see how it went in. Did they do any folding to the one big blind bet on the flop?
Yeah, they fold a lot to it.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's, especially the later you get into tournaments in these later stages, it's quite effective.
Wow.
Alright, so I think it was like two industries that were colliding.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I think,
Like
that's
mine
exactly
and
what happened.
yours from the same day.
I think that's exactly what happened. I think it's how you filtered it, cuz I've been watching how it goes back and forth.
Yeah,
And I remember most of these hands, but some of them I don't.
yeah.
I was,
So some of these hands are Lewis's.
well, the good
So
news
maybe we
about
should
that,
play guess the hand. Did Galen
Well-
play it or did Lewis play it?
well, the good
Anyway,
news about that, Vivian,
regardless, one of the two players is out now.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's the good news, Vivian. Somebody just busted.
Yeah, so now we're back to,
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. It's how, you filtered it for the day since you
He's
played the
like,
same
well, I don't
tournament.
remember this hand. I must have been playing a bunch of tables.
Okay, so this is kind of
I
an
would
interesting
never play
spot
it
right
that
here.
way.
This is kind of an interesting spot right here. Okay, so facing a late position limp, we over limp with a hand like this facing a jam. I have no idea. I think we're supposed to call this, to be honest.
yeah, but if it's a min bounty, it like, right now you can take a shot at him, at him, at him, at him. Whereas if you take this shot and lose, you can't have access to this one anymore, or this one.
Right, and then you also have the conversation, do we prefer raising a late position limp from a guy who's short? Or
No,
prefer over limping?
I think you wanna over limp with this kind of hand. You wanna make the straight, the flush, two pairs, something like that. And then you want him to be still in the hand. If you ISO, you give him a chance to let go pre-flop. Say he limps like ace five suited, and then you both make your ace. You wanna see a flop for that, right?
Yeah, I would think so too. I think the hand becomes a little more straightforward for him if you raise, cuz you allow his, limp jams to complete their mission. And, I think taking him into the waters post flop in position with a advantageous hand, I think is how you wanna proceed here. Yeah, I like this. Now, it gets kinda goofy, right? When we get jammed on there. I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
it's a
This
close
is
one.
probably fine. Okay, so this seems a bit wide, right? This is another PKO adjustment right here. This stage of the tournament, I have a unusually large bounty. And we are just opening into people who wanna make my life miserable, right? So big blind's got 92, 93 big blinds. He's gonna call basically 100% of hands here. So to help prevent some of that, I'm gonna make them gamble pre-flop. Same story. We could
They're not
call,
as enticed to induce with jacks. Wait, what point of the tournament are we now?
well, it's getting a little bit later. You can probably get a better idea if you actually see the hands or the actual chips, but, so yeah, I mean, this is a lot of starting stacks here, right? So this is what, 10 starting stacks,
More.
17 bigs? We're definitely in the money. At this point. And, well, yeah, we run into it here, but I think Nick or Vince called an ace on the river, so it worked out
No,
for me.
I called an ace on the river.
Well, yeah, it was Louis. Somebody gave me the alley oop there.
That's the
Really?
difference between $0 and 12K right there, one hand.
Yeah, it is.
Card,
That's the
one
truth.
card.
Yeah, one card.
Okay, so if you're gonna open this, why would you?
Yeah,
not
that's how
open it?
poker is. You're like, man,
What was
You're
that,
never
Louis?
gonna,
Why
you're never
not
gonna
bet
win the
here?
tournament without wrecking a few people.
I can get
Yep.
behind opening this, okay, it's fine. But if you see a king eye flop against a big blind, you gotta see that.
So I
Ugh.
kinda go, I kinda go along with that logic. I'm betting my best queens here. I think, the second one, especially on a board that's dynamic as this, so he's gonna have 10x, jack X that are gonna wanna continue here. I think I'm just kinda controlling the pot at this point, especially he double covers me, so, yeah, I don't know.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, I think it's fine to check back. You don't wanna get check raised either.
Worst
And it-
card in the deck. Mm.
Now it gets really interesting, okay, right? So, okay, I didn't know what to do here. I remember this hand.
I think it's.
Do
a
we
check back.
have? Yeah, right. I do too. Do we have enough equity to open the action on the river is the question it boils down to.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's value if he checks.
Yeah, but the thing
Boy,
is. the
that's
four
close
line
though.
flush
Yeah,
that we
that's
did
close.
Against the big blind. I don't think there's much EV in betting here.
His
Yeah,
full
that's-
houses are gonna be checking. His straights should be checking. He should have some flushes maybe that are checking. I don't know how he's breaking up that, but, I mean, hell, he could have a better queen X here that's checking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna struggle to get called by anything other than ace king.
And then, yeah, and that's the other part is like, what are we targeting if we're betting there? So what size do we use? It's a tough spot, I think. And I kinda like the check back.
Yeah, with the straight there and the one liner, and the flush, like your hand is a marginal made hand.
He might consider a straight a bluff catcher at
Yeah.
that point.
It wouldn't surprise me if he just check called with a straight.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is kind of an interesting spot.
I think you played
The-
it perfectly. Limp,
The limping strategy. A lot of people don't have this in their game, but I mean, if you notice the tournament, up to this point, it's not been like a really prominent part of my strategy, open limping.
yeah.
yeah,
I
I
think-
never do it. Never.
I think there's a lot of EV to gain if, in late stage tournament play from that type of strategy. As
But
long as
really,
it's not-
really short maybe, but
Well, yeah, that's exactly it, Chris, exactly it. When you're really short.
How
when
big
it's
does the
most-
bounty have to be for you to do that?
To go for this? Yeah, it's a good question. So I feel like this spot's kind of close. It must have been enticing for me to say, ace deuces.
Yeah.
A go
that
here.
looks
Must have been
insane.
a
Oh
really
my.
good bounty.
Yeah, it must
Yeah.
have been a really good spot. This was.
Oh my goodness.
What could I possibly hit on the flop?
A bunch of
Deuce.
deuces.
Two. I think I remember this hand.
Oh my god.
That isn't
Oh.
good.
that's not good. No.
What in the heck is gonna happen now?
We really need the deuce. What?
Just a 9. King, queen I had covered, so I get a rebate.
Ah, you got like two bounties.
Say
Yeah,
eight or
No,
8 or
just
7. 8 or
I just
7
gotta-
would
How
be
did-
pretty cool.
How did the ace king- Oh,
I just got a rebate because king, queen, had the most chips.
oh, okay.
What do you guys do here? I mean, we're still hunting here.
But jam.
Yeah,
You
jam.
can't- You can't fold, right? You just gotta do
Yeah.
this.
The call with 9-6 offsuit,
And you gotta win.
Feels bad, man. Feels bad, man.
9-5.
What do you mean? We're dominating.
Yeah, but
Does he ever fold the 9-5 there?
He probably should.
Yeah.
Seems
yeah,
like he should.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, this was
Wow,
Nick's.
you're in the dominate seat here. That's great.
Yeah, this was Nick's alley oop. Nick gave me the alley oop on this one. He called the 10.
Nick called the
Trail
first.
of wrecked souls continues.
Okay, so this is a close spot. I feel like people probably miss this one. I think this is a little more cut and dry.
Easy jam,
Uh,
yeah.
Late position.
Yeah, small blind is gonna be stealing pretty frequently from that open, so I feel
Yeah.
like pocket eights is much more cut and dry of a ISO
Yeah,
hand
yeah.
here.
Got him. We have a real stack again.
I'm a real boy again.
I'm a big stack now.
So what are you gonna do with the refund from ace king there?
Okay, so I think this is a little more debatable. This is probably close. This is probably a call. I think at
Depending
this
on the
stage of the,
bounty.
right,
I
depending on the
agree.
bounty. I remember playing this hand and I remember thinking that the chips were more valuable than the bounties at this point. So it's later. It's definitely,
All
Now
in,
you're
later.
wow, I would, if I was you here, I would stuff.
Yeah, 65 bigs. I was being respectful.
Yeah, you don't want to get looked up by a light eighth there. 'Cause remember, like, people are incentivized to hunt to him because he's gotten a lot of people's bounties.
Yeah, yeah, and that's always lingering in the back of my mind. I did have a very attractive bounty at this stage of the tournament.
Pop it off.
Trashy ace seems good. I kinda like three betting this. I don't know if I do here.
We
Okay,
do.
we do.
Must be getting late,
It is getting late if I'm breaking out the micro three bets.
the 5 big blind.
It's scary, man. Cause only the nuts do it. Okay. Alright, yeah, one and done. Yeah, I got clicked back.
Probably
Learned a
fine
lot.
to check with this combo because you best king eye, you don't get better kings to fold.
Yeah, yeah, it's, I think you're probably right. Okay, so what are we doing here? It
I
went
call it.
EP open.
Yeah.
I think calling's good.
Especially with ICM, you block the bottom of his opening range with jacks.
Right, yeah, you need to be respectful.
Chop it
Unfortunate
off.
run out. Chop it up. We open, take it down. Okay, this was a interesting hand. I remember playing this hand and this one was close. We are very deep at this point of the tournament. Like, this is final 2 or 3 tables. I think it's final 2 tables at this point. And, the jammer has a fairly attractive bounty here.
I think it's too
My-
much.
Right, so my position in the tournament is pretty locked up. Like, we're maybe 10th in the tournament. There's several other people at the other table that have basically the same chip stack as me. Now, the kicker is, if I were to win this pot, I would be tied for third in the tournament. And at a, much more advantageous situation at this table. I don't know, man. I could go the other way with this one. I think it's close. Curious to hear what other people think.
I think it's a fold because the chips you stand to lose are worth too much.
They are very valuable, without a doubt, very valuable. So. It's close.
If you had king 10 off, I would snap it in, but king.
Yeah, I like
nine,
to fold.
king
I
eight,
like to fold here.
Well, you're not gonna like this then.
Yeah, like, you just don't, one of the problems is you don't have live cards here because his jams are gonna be centered around an ace or a king, which is either beating you or probably a better king than you. So,
Right,
yeah,
it gets a
I think,
little dicey.
I think king jack is a snap off, king 10 suited probably.
Yeah, I mean, some of those hands are just
Justice.
autopilot. Like,
The
to be
river.
fair, this guy got lucky first, so he can.
Yeah, no, this was justice.
Yeah, I think just too good of a hand. Important spots.
Meanwhile, you keep
Okay.
piling up the bounties.
trashy king. I think you gotta take those spots. We cover, so we're back in the driver's seat. Okay, so this is a good one, I think. Under the gun guys got 5 big blinds or so. We have like an okay ace.
It's a fine eyes
Uh,
open.
I think so.
The key thing is that like your ace is ahead of enough aces and your 9 is ahead of enough pairs that you're gonna have lots of flips.
Right. Alright, so here's another one. I like this play a little bit less.
Yeah, I don't know what
but-
you're doing here.
Well, like, we have a hand that flops very well. 3 betting looks pretty strong. It's middle stack, big stack at this table, actually. So, as we kinda know those ranges, he should be somewhat respectful. I don't know how often he's gonna be 4-bet jamming into my face here.
At Chippy V, this is an all in, right?
Yeah, Chippy V without a doubt. I think I think this is much more low frequency play.
Is
I
this
think
more of
you
a
really
call?
wanna. I think so. I think it's more of a call. I think you wanna have a lot of king and,
Aces.
Oh, the
aces
min
here.
through bet. Let's go.
Yeah, why is the min 3-bet better than a call here?
Because you
Well,
uncap
he
your,
doesn't
you
wanna
uncap your
like
range.
incentivize other people to like jam
yeah.
just for no reason either. Cause if
Yeah,
you
to
just call
to
here, a
Vivian's
lot of times
point.
they jam.
Yeah, to Vivian's point, like when I make this bet, I'm uncapped. 2, it really strengthens my range to all of the re-steal stacks behind. There's a
What are you
lot of
doing
guys.
with, yeah, what are you doing with pocket aces there?
Same thing, or I'm flatting. I'm either protecting my flatting range with it there. Or we're doing a very similar bet to I just did there. This is the final table. This is
Yes.
the first
with
hand on the
kings-
final table.
But with kings or queens, we're never flatting there, right?
I
It's
like the mid 3-bet. I like
Yeah.
that 3-bet size I did in that stage
Yeah.
of the tournament with those type of hands.
Right, that makes sense.
How many other games do you have going at the same time when you hit the final table? Do you know?
This final table pops around 8 or 9 PM my time, if I do recall.
Probably not
So
many, not much.
not too many. My registration
Okay.
window usually closes around 3 or 4 PM. So I'm 4 tabling max here.
Okay, that's good. So you're paying very close attention. Either way, you still would be, right? Yeah.
All of us were paying very close attention.
Oh, you were streaming it yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
So we
It
still
So
was
had
a
12
group
tables and
effort.
was paying close attention.
Good.
check call.
Terrible call.
So, man, I think it's a little closer, maybe not an ICM environment. 3 to a straight, through to a flush.
20 big blinds, bro.
It is 20 big blinds.
Two
you know?
unders to the 9. Yeah.
This is an easy fold for me. Do you wanna run it?
I fold as well.
It might be worth looking at, I would think. I'm agreeing with you. I like it. I like it a lot less, I think. Bless use.
Sorry.
The queen and the 9 are 2 cards that are good for him. So
They are.
I like the fold pre-flop.
Oh, it's too good of a hand to fold pre-flop. We have like, there's some
Yeah.
board textures that have come out that we just have supreme representation on that. We can just take pots away very easily.
yeah, and as like a medium stack, this guy has to be super cautious going
Right,
forwards.
and yeah, that's the other part about it is me with a larger stack here, it's gonna widen my calling range quite a bit.
Yeah, when the board comes out 8 high, it's
Right, so what are we looking at, Louis? It's primarily a fold with fragments of raising is kind of what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. It's no call, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, that kind of tells it right there. I pick up equity on the turn, I still let it go. It's not great. Okay. Okay, so this is an interesting hand. We
Yeah.
3-bet pre-flop. We c-bet the flop, I think is good. The turn, I think is kind of a real turning point right here. So I feel like we probably mix quite heavily here.
Yep.
I think maybe not having the heart would make me a little more aggressive. Um,
Wow.
I
with
think with
regards to
the
that.
heart, you can double barrel. Without the heart, you need to check, because if the heart completes on the river and you have like the ace of heart, you can kind of bluff. Without
It
the
does
heart,
give you the,
But really, even on a tripped board, the flush is shit.
well, so that was kind of my idea here.
Yeah,
I have the aces, I have the kings. So that was the supporting evidence I used for another barrel here.
Yeah, I would be sizing up here too. Right? Yeah, perfect.
that's not a size up though, is it? Or at this stack depth, that's called a size up? Hey,
Yeah.
the nuts.
think you rescan this poor guy on the river.
Oh, I remember this hand. He had like jacks or something, right? Oh, he does Joe. That's right.
Oh, you
Oh,
definitely-
that's funny.
Sorry, stepped away for 2 seconds. Yeah,
We're counting that as an out.
yeah, that was honestly a pretty unfortunate run out. He was spamming the you suck emojis, so I'm sure he had a queen or something good.
Yeah, he was not happy with this one.
He was very upset. I like just the call here. We get there on the river. Half pot. I think this is fine, multi-way.
I think you wanna
Something we
size
can-
up here.
Perhaps. I'm trying to throw something I'm getting called with. We
like
call,
check
we just
raising here.
fold. I think it's a fine check raise board. Probably let's go at some frequency too.
Yeah.
I like calling here, the suited one.
Yeah.
Probably close, but I think folding's fine. We open, get 3-bet, just letting it go from a guy we cover. Okay, call. Face a small bet.
Oh,
Check, check.
yeah.
Alright, so we block the river, we get raised.
It
Where is
sucks.
everyone at with this hand?
Call never, no reason to jam it.
Yeah, I think jamming is completely out of the conversation.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
just a-
not an option.
You can't
Mostly
fold.
fold, mostly fold, I think.
Call or
Mostly call.
fold?
Having an
Call or
ace here is
fold?
really bad.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the ace with regards to that. I think the line that we've taken with this hand, it's just too strong to let go. And there's some supporting evidence with one, okay, so our villain is probably, we have to draw some assumptions, right? So a standard chippy V range is gonna have
Oh,
some
wait.
check
thinking
backs.
of it. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, it's
He's gonna
screwed.
have some standard check backs with his kings on the turn here. Like maybe his king 4, king 3, some of his worst ones. I don't think villain is checking back a ton of his king X here on the turn. So. That puts us to, does villain have it in him to? Raise 8x combos here? I mean, hands that he's checking back on the turn. Okay, so if he has king 8 somehow. He could be checking that back. Pocket eights is not checking back the turn because. You're unblocking the king, you wanna get value. Pocket kings perhaps could be checking back the turn. One combo of that.
One combo of each, not worried about.
For me,
those.
it's really a question of sizing. If he has a
Well,
full house
yep.
here, he's always.
Exactly.
checking it in.
Yeah.
I'm also correcting
Yep.
myself. I read the board wrong. I didn't see that the king
Right.
can pair.
I
So
think
and
that's
that's
what
the
we talked about
last,
live, because I think Galen said you were like inclined to fold this, and we're like, he's never taking the sizing with for value, right?
well,
Like,
yeah, that's the last consideration, right? So like, what portions of his range is he just not jamming here that's value?
A flush.
And a flush could raise here, although most players would probably just incorrectly call. 8x is gonna be an approved raise here,
I don't think people are gonna raise. king eight
but.
here.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
they-
they are a lot. And then like, you have a king,
8x.
if you have a king here, why would you not jam?
Yeah. Oh, you made it easy
So-
with this sizing on you. If he was
I think-
going all in, I think we should have folded, but with this
Yeah, it's a
size-
fold. I think it's a fold if he jams. It becomes much more difficult. So we ended up calling and he,
Ace or an
Good
eight,
luck.
Sure.
yeah.
he was trying to push us off an ace chop.
Yeah, I was trying to get you up the shop.
I might have let
Um,
that, I think I would have let that one go. Cause it's either an ace or an eight, right?
I would have misread the board and called and been so happy.
Pro player.
Exactly.
I've done that in a game where I misread the my hand and I folded the second nuts to the nuts on accident.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so a little shift in the dynamic here. The 10 big blind guy has the largest bounty at the table. It's $700 or so. And everyone's aware of that. So the last few hands, people have been playing quite aggressive. This guy jams. Trying to ISO the big blind, I would guess is the primary motivator here. And
No, he had like ace queen, right? It was reasonable.
he
Yeah.
had a reasonable hand for sure.
So do you like an overjam over a flat on that queen? I noticed you overjam.
Depends my hand really. Like, I would invite trouble maybe with aces there. Other than that, I'm, perfectly happy isolating.
I mean, there's so much value in just getting heads up and winning the bounty. The more multi-way you go, the
is.
more often you lose.
Right, that's why I described it as inviting disaster.
No, I got it. It makes sense now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Easy
Right,
fold,
so
I think.
yeah, I like this fold. This guy's been probably the tightest guy at the table up to this point.
Yeah.
His chip stack is probably one of the least incentivized to play back at me.
Yeah, you don't want to
So-
rumble with him.
He's like never jamming worse aces.
I don't think so either.
Dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Bet the turn with your straight draw there?
I don't remember if I did or not.
Yeah, no, we didn't. We bet the flop and got one call. Or wait a minute, we're out of position. You go back.
It's blind versus blind. I was protecting my, my limp range here. I was planning to limp jam this.
Right,
But,
but once the flop comes, I mean,
I
don't.
bet one, I think I
bet
bet
your
one big
draw.
blind. Did I
Yeah,
bet one?
you
I
should
don't know.
probably bet small here.
Probably good. Yeah, definitely probably good.
You still get.
Would've
called
worked.
for
Bet a
things.
hand you can, it seems like a
Call
hand you
by
can bet
diamonds.
twice.
Yeah, would've
I mean,
worked.
You can certainly bet the flop, and if you check the flop because you're out of position, definitely bet the turn. What am I missing there, or is it just uninteresting?
I mean,
No, you can bet small
so
on the flop and then bet small on the turn. It's probably fine.
it's
Well,
probably
we-
fine. It's not like a slam dunk decision either or. It probably mixes. The only reason I probably chose to check back there was I'm giving his continuing range more credit than it needed in that scenario.
Okay,
Okay, so this is me trying to take advantage of the situation. We have a 22 big blind stack. There's basically a three-way tie, give or take, for second place here. So they're gonna have to fold wider.
Yeah, I like a jam. Ooh.
So I mean, we honestly, we just ran into it and plan B worked out here.
Oh yeah, you had a 6, right?
Yeah, I just hit a 6.
War crimes.
Okay, I want you to teach that. Like,
Work
I want to know how to
lines.
do that.
I know, right?
Well, it doesn't work out that way all the time, I promise. Doesn't work out that way all the time. It's usually pretty uninteresting.
Yeah, get into that spot 14 times and then watch it work out once.
Yeah, it's nice when it does work out, but it's not always the case like that.
As long
That
as
right
it's
there.
on final tables.
All right. So if you ever figure out a way to improve that, let me know. I'll buy your book.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, save your run good for the final table.
Queen, check call, check call.
Nice.
So the reason I took that line with that hand was I was covered. He's gonna be incentivized to bluff a little bit more, be more aggressive. I do like check raising there sometimes.
You got 2 streets of value out of it. It's good.
Yeah.
So this is a fine fold with the ace of diamond in our hand.
I think so too. Did I bluff catch this?
Nope.
Or no, I let it go. Okay. Raise, you just call this.
And fold it because we blocked one of it, because we blocked one of his principal bluffs.
Yeah. Very next hand gets more bounties, more chips.
More bounties.
This was quite a drawn out heads up match. I think we go back and forth 3 or 4 times, trading chip leader 3 to 4, 4 to 1.
Call the raise there?
Yeah, so we got.
You have to,
an
heads up.
over. Yeah, we got an over. We got 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush. Pretty
You're winning a
standard.
lot of the time.
Okay.
We're just ahead some. This, okay, so there's a couple caveats here. Caveat number on the river, when we get the river bet. Couple caveats here. If villain is balanced as he should be, I think we do need a bluff catch here some.
I
If
think you should mostly call.
If villain's not, I mean, yeah, so the check bet check line, right? That's the other thing is, how cautious is villain playing versus my call on the flop?
Also, would you
Which-
rather call here with like ace king or with ace eight when you block the straight?
Ace
Ace eight,
eight,
yeah.
for sure, 100%. I think this is a fine bluff catch hand, cuz ace high is gonna be good here enough, you know? But, he has just a value portion of his range. It's kinda how that worked out. If I do recall, villain ended up being pretty honest, with his bets and his raises. Which is probably one of the only reasons I was able to win this heads up match.
Yeah, I love guys like that.
We get on the river, we have a blocker to the nuts. Front door flush draw bricks. We have triple barreled if I recall, or do we double barrel? I think we may have double barreled
Check on the flop, bet small call, and then stuff.
Yep,
stuff. I think this is a fine combo for this.
yep.
Yeah, the run out change a lot. We have a.
very
10,
dynamic, yeah.
Jack 10. We don't have a diamond. We have a 10-7. I think it's good.
So you're doing a ton of limping from the button.
Right, so. If I recall, villain was extremely sticky. He was calling basically everything. I was raising. And it was hard to get him off hands and he was doing some jamming or raising a lot.
Yeah.
Pre-flop, so I was just the chip dynamic, the fact that I was a 2 to 1 dog there. Pushed me to more limps. I was playing a limp jam range.
Right.
Right, okay, so this is kind of an interesting one. We have a straight blocker. We're unblocking both flush draws. And we have a pair of sixes. And what was the pre-flop action? Was this did he
Raise
raise?
to
I don't
X call.
He called, so he didn't raise me,
Yeah.
which limits him with ace X combos in my mind. So I went for an aggressive line here, maybe
How
pretty
long-
thin.
How long do you take thinking that through?
This?
Yep.
I came to the conclusion probably 10 seconds. I try to always run my time bank down in these situations equally. Like I don't want it to take extra long. Cause I don't
Right.
know how villain will read into that. And my marker is usually 10 seconds, so I'll let it run down to 10 seconds. So I'd made my decision before then. Otherwise I wouldn't have taken a line like this if I was in the tank. I
Okay,
don't think.
it's kind of what I
Um,
was alluding to, yeah.
Yeah, so it's all these little raises that got you the W.
Yeah. The little microaggressions.
That's fortunate.
Mm, mm.
We bet, take it, raise,
You got a bubble.
jam,
Oh,
he calls.
There it comes.
I think the last
Looking-
time the tournament was like Jack 4 or something.
Mm.
It was Jack 4 or Jack 3, I forget which.
we need a king or a nine?
Negative.
A king or a nine? Oh no.
Field
Come on,
goal.
Louis, get better at your calls, man.
Field goal good, split up right.
You're supposed to be the summoner.
That's the 6-8 jam there.
Yeah, I
did
question that
jam-
too.
Did I jam?
Galen's
6-8?
like, you
I'm
gotta
not-
mix it in sometimes. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, you jam 6-8, I think it is at his, was it at his limp, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Limp button.
Sometimes, man.
Oh, sometimes. I'll-
Dodged it all.
in the
Oh, wow,
tournament.
that's a lot to dodge there. 5 spade ace.
And let's go.
Congratulations, Galen.
Yeah,
Thank you,
he's-
thank you, thank you, thank you.
And this is
That's
how
fine.
Galen became $12,000 richer.
Well,
Wasn't the,
like 4,000.
Also,
So,
I just wanna point out that I backed him for 25% here, so I made $3,000. Thank you very much, Galen.
so if
Anytime,
anybody,
Louis.
so if anybody needs money on GG, hit up Galen or Louis is what they're saying.
Speaking of,
Maybe
I wouldn't
uh,
say that. I wouldn't say that, Chris. Anyhow, good game, my man. Well played.